Skeptics Review, the Bible, by John Smith. Exodus, chapter 7. The Lord told Moses that he made Moses like a god, and Aaron, Moses' disciple, which I never remember anyone telling me as a kid when I attended Sunday school. Also, God tells Moses that he will continue to tell Moses what to tell Aaron, what to tell Pharaoh. Yeah, remember any movie adaptation you've ever seen of Moses talking to Pharaoh during the 10 plagues? Put that out of your mind. It was really Moses telling Aaron who told Pharaoh, as I've stated in a previous video. Remember, Moses is such a poor speaker. Also remember that God is making Pharaoh stubborn. Pharaoh has no free will of his own and is merely a pawn in God's game of getting himself some PR. He clearly states his intentions here in Exodus chapter 7 that God is making the king stubborn so that God intends to bring many terrifying things down upon Egypt so that the Egyptians will know that he, God, is the Lord. God continues, if the king demands that you prove yourselves, and he will because God is making him stubborn and taking his free will to suit his own purposes, then you are to turn your walking stick into a snake, which, as we've said in a previous video, was irrefutable proof that God was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Aaron, not Moses, threw down the walking stick, and it turned into a snake. Next, the wizards and wise men. Back in my Genesis series, someone made a comment that, why had I made Alan Turing a wizard? Fine, Turing's a wise man. Relax. I'm surprised no one was mad about Tesla. Anyway, the wizards and wise men throw down their walking sticks and make snakes out of them, which I guess punches a hole in God's irrefutable proof claim. Well, Aaron's snake stick eats the wizard's snake sticks, so there's that. Then God tells Moses that the king is very stubborn and refuses to let the people go, which we know already because God has already said a bunch of times he was making the king stubborn. God tells Moses and Aaron to go and wait for Pharaoh by the Nile River in the morning when Pharaoh is taking his bath. God says, tell Pharaoh that you, by you, God of course means Aaron, you are going to strike the river and turn it into blood. Then the fish will die and the water will not be drinkable. So, as I've stated, Aaron is the one who actually does the water to blood trick with the staff, so forget everything you've seen on all the made-for-TV and movie Bible adaptations. Blood even fills all of the Egyptians' tubs and stone jars for some reason. Why? For God's PR, that's why. Haven't you been paying attention? But the king's wizards and wise men somehow also turned a river that was already blood into blood, thanks to level 14 wise man and totally not a wizard, Alan Turing, I guess. And God hardens Pharaoh's heart again, remember, for selfish PR reasons of his own. Exodus, chapter 8. Then the Lord tells Moses to tell Aaron to tell the king about the plague of frogs that God is going to bring down on Egypt. Frogs will be in the houses, beds, ovens, and baking pans, apparently. So once again, forget everything you know from watching any Bible, made-for-TV, movie, because it's Aaron who performs the actual miracle of waving the walking stick and making frogs appear. Pharaoh finally calls the Levite brothers in and tells them to get rid of all these frogs. Moses does some actual speaking here. Or at least the Bible gets tired of telling us that Moses tells Aaron what to say anyway. Moses said he will finally pray for Pharaoh and hopefully that'll get rid of the frogs. Then Pharaoh will know that God is the Lord so God can get his PR that he desperately wants. So Moses prayed the next day and all the frogs died. The Egyptians piled them up and, wait for it, God hardens Pharaoh's heart. He changes his mind. Again. Next, God tells Moses to tell Aaron to strike his stick on the ground to make gnats. So Aaron strikes his staff on the ground, and all the dust becomes gnats. Even though the wizards and wise men could make snakes and blood rivers where there was already a blood river for some reason, they could not make gnats. It must have been Alan Turing's fault. He needs to level up some more or something. Go grind for more XP, Alan Turing. Anyway, as usual, Pharaoh becomes stubborn. So next, God sends flies. God says he will spare the region of Goshen where the Israelites live, though. Has God been sparing them of all the other plagues so far? I don't think the Bible specifically stated. Oh well, Yet again, God tells us specifically why he's doing this. For his own PR. Pharaoh calls the Levite brothers in and tells them, "Go ahead and take your 3-day festival and make your sacrifices to Lord Yahweh if it will just get rid of all these flies." Moses, who isn't a good speaker, speaks up and spoils the deal by saying, "We need to sacrifice some animals to Lord Yahweh, and the Egyptians might be offended by our sacrifice." Way to go, Moses. You should have just brought the animals without telling Pharaoh. What's the saying about sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than permission? Pharaoh says, "Fine, but don't go too far away." So Moses prayed. God took away the flies, and surprise, surprise, Pharaoh's heart hardened yet again, and he would not let the Israelites go in the desert for 3 days for their animal sacrificing festival to Yahweh. Didn't see that one coming, did you?